through this ordeal, the Lord was with Joseph, and Joseph made the house and the business of his master Potiphar prosper. As he was a good-looking man, Mrs. Potiphar lusted after him and wanted him to lie with her. But Joseph, desiring to be faithful to his master and to God, refused. One day, however, as her husband was away, she insisted that he lie with her, and as Joseph refused again, she caught his garment and she fled out of the house. Joseph was arrested and accused of sexual assault and put in prison. That was the second moment of God breaking down Joseph, although he was still with him, showing him his mercy. The Lord gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison, who trusted Joseph to make him care for all the prisoners. So whatever Joseph did, the Lord made it prosper. One day, Pharaoh's chief butler and his baker were put in prison. Each one had a dream, and they asked Joseph to interpret them. Joseph sought God about their request, but made it clear that the interpretation of dreams belongs only to the Lord. The butler would be reinstated, but the baker would be hanged. And this indeed came to pass. Sadly, Pharaoh's chief butler did not remember Joseph, but forgot him. It was only 2 years later, when Pharaoh had 2 bad dreams that his seers and magicians were not able to explain, that the butler remembered Joseph, who was immediately brought into the presence of the king and asked to interpret Pharaoh's dreams. The first dream was about 7 beautiful and fat cows that were eaten by 7 thin, ugly cows. As to the second dream, it was about 7 ears of grain, plump and good, that were swallowed by 7 thin ears. Joseph interprets them to Pharaoh, revealing to him that both dreams have only one interpretation. There will be 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. Joseph then strongly recommends to Pharaoh that he appoints a chief steward who would organize for 7 years the harvesting of the grains of wheat all over Egypt and their storage in huge silos for the years of famine to come. Very impressed, Pharaoh immediately appoints Joseph himself as second in command, or viceroy of Egypt, entrusting him with the task of saving Egypt from famine. He then changes his name and gives him in marriage to the daughter of his high priest. It is fascinating once we realize that after the breakdown of Joseph, the Lord breaks through into his life. Pharaoh asks his people to go to Joseph, in Latin, ite ad Joseph. Does this ring a bell? The church applies this call of Pharaoh to invite the followers of Christ to go to St. Joseph when they experience hardships. In the book of the Acts of the Apostles, it is said that we must suffer many hardships to enter the kingdom of God. When you were in the midst of your trials and sufferings, whom did you see or call? Did you look up in prayer?